In previous lecture, we studied about dairy farm and poultry farm management practices. And we realized that we should have a very good breed for higher productivity. So in this section, we'll first study about different types of animal breeding techniques. So let us first know what is a breed. Breed is a group of animals having a common ancestor, or we can say these animals are related by their descent. So all these animal breeding techniques we'll be studying. Let us first see. On left you can see it's a Jersey, a breed of cow, and on right it is Leghorn, a breed of hen. So animal breeding can be divided into two main groups, inbreeding and outbreeding. Inbreeding involves the breeding between the same breed animals but having common ancestors, whereas outbreeding may be two breeds of same type but different ancestors, or we may have two different breeds, or we may have two different animals of different species. We'll be studying it in detail. Let us first take inbreeding. Inbreeding involves mating between two superior bull and superior cow, and they should be related by the descent at least for 4 to 6 generations. Superior cows are those cows having a long lactation period, high productivity, whereas superior bulls are the animals which can produce good progeny. So the progeny which is produced, again the superior offsprings are, again their inbreeding is done to produce a new offspring. So inbreeding results in production of homozygous pure line animals. It is same as Mendel did for pea plant to produce the homozygous pure line plants. So inbreeding gives a chance to express the desirable characters. So it also helps us to eliminate the undesirable characters. So inbreeding has some negative aspects also, because it expresses certain recessive harmful characters also. And second point, the continuous inbreeding results into a phenomena called as inbreeding depression, which results in reduction in fertility and productivity. So what is the solution? Solution may be outbreeding. So let us study about outbreeding. Outbreeding is mainly of three types: outcrossing, crossbreeding, and interspecific hybridization. What is outcrossing? Outcrossing is crossing two animals of the same breed, but they should not be related by their ancestor for at least 4 to 6 generations. So crossbreeding is again breeding between two animals, superior bull and cow, but they should be of different breeds. For example, here you can see Jersey, which is having a high lactation period, and Sindhi, which is disease resistant. When they are crossbred, they produce offspring which is hybrid, which is called as Jersey, which has both the characteristics. And this is also a very good example. Here we can see that these two in sheep, the Bikaneri ewes and when Merino rams, they are crossbred, they produce a better breed called as Hisardale. Next type is interspecific hybridization, where we use two different species. When a female horse is crossed with another species, that is male donkey, then a hybrid is produced. That hybrid is called as a mule. So mule, though it is infertile, but it has very high economic value as a very good draught animal. Therefore, inbreeding and outbreeding both can be adopted wherever it is required, and we can use various modern techniques. For example, artificial insemination. In this method, the semen of a superior male is collected and then it can be transferred into the genital tract of the superior female by veterinarian. This method is a very economical method because the frozen semen can be imported from a very far off place, from a very good exotic breed. So it is quite an economical process. But this process has certain limitations because the success rate of artificial insemination is quite low. Therefore, we can also go for MOET, multiple ovulation embryo transfer technology. In this method, first the superior females are chosen and they are given gonadotrophic hormones like FSH and LH. So because of these hormones, it induces super ovulation in them and they produce about 6 to 8 ova. So these females, super ovulated females, then can be crossbred with a superior male, either naturally or with the help of artificial insemination. And the embryo which are produced are of high quality. But these embryos are non-surgically taken out and then these can be reintroduced into a surrogate mother. These surrogate mothers are poor indigenous cows and the superior female can be used for the second round of super ovulation. Therefore, the genetic mother is super female, but the surrogate mother is a normal indigenous cow. So this is a very good method of improving the herd population in a very small period of. After animal breeding, let us move to the next section of animal husbandry, which is beekeeping. So beekeeping is scientifically called as apiculture. So the farmer has to set up the small beehives which are called as apiaries. So these apiaries provide him honey, which is highly nutritious, having very high economic value and used in many medicines. Also, these apiaries have to set up so that the colonies of these bees can be reared properly, because these colonies provide him another very important product which is called as bee wax. This bee wax is also commercially used in many cosmetic industries and in medicine. Therefore, beekeeping is giving him extra income. Therefore, this beekeeping can be done on small scale or in large scale. Small scale requires very small place where small apiaries can be set up, whereas the large scale beekeeping is quite organized process where a large scale is required to set up the large apiaries. For setting up these apiaries, the location is very important. That is called pasture. Location should have many flowers and fruit trees because these are the sources of nectar for the bees, and also these bees are helping in pollination. Therefore, farmer is benefited in two ways. His agricultural production also increases and he gets extra income from the honey and bee wax. Therefore, this beekeeping is very advisable for farmers. This is Apis indica, a typical Indian honeybee. Farmers have to be given small training for this apiculture because this will enable him to handle or manage these apiaries in a better way. He can know about the nature of the honeybees, selection of a desirable location for the beehive, that is pasture. He can learn to control the swarms or moving the groups of bees. Management of beehives in different climatic conditions. And finally, collection of honey and the bee wax. Therefore, beekeeping provides the farmer quite extra income. Next is pisciculture, that is culturing of fish. So, India has a very vast coastal as well as other water bodies. Therefore, this fish culturing, fish as you know all know is a very nutritious food. It has high amount of protein, fats and vitamins. So freshwater fishing is called inland fishery. Some common examples are katla, rohu and the common carp. Then comes the marine fishes. Very few good examples are hilsa, mackerel and pomfret. These are very few good examples of marine fishing. So fish is also a very good source of cod liver oil, and even the oyster pearl can be cultured through this kind of aquaculture, because India has a very long coastal line and this resource can be used for culturing fish, prawn, crab and other seafood. So this complete pisciculture can be divided into aquaculture and pisciculture. Aquaculture is culturing of plants as well as other types of products from the water bodies. It may be animals or aquatic plants. Pisciculture is totally focused on the fish farming. So this will give a better earning income for the farmers. So increase in production of seafood is the part of blue revolution. Next section we will be dealing with the green revolution.